Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm Chris, and this is Regular Guy Training. So, you guys may or may not have heard me talking about, the close quarters iron sight technique for AR irons and stuff. And in the middle of that video, I referenced that you could essentially do the same thing with AK irons. Okay. What this is commonly referred to is the Caveman's EOtech, and it's because it resembles it slightly. Now, all we're essentially doing is we are using our iron sights as best as we possibly can. And we're using it in a method that is much faster than just lining up the sights, especially at much closer distances. So, is this a video about how irons are better than optics or red dots or whatever? It's absolutely not, because the supremacy of the red dot as far as just speed and accuracy, especially between short and medium and in some cases longer distances, is undisputed. But what we are doing here is we're talking about how much more effective you can be instead of just regulating the iron sights to useless, because they're not. Now, as far as the Caveman EOtech is concerned, it really is fairly simple. What we're doing is we are taking our set of iron sights, right? Let me fold up this stock so it's a little bit easier. Now, we're taking a set of these iron sights, and instead of lining them up traditionally, what we're doing is we're taking the rear sight and placing it at the base of the front sight tower, meaning here, so that all that we're really seeing is the entire front sight area, right? Meaning the front sight tower itself, as well as the little guards in there, and you can see that that looks very close to something like a EOtech with the circle dot type reticle. Now, it's referenced as the Caveman's EOtech because it's obviously not being projected via a holographic red image. So, no big deal, right? What we're going to do here is we're essentially going to take this out as far as we can go and see how effective it really is. Now, here's why I reference this specifically to close range stuff rather than as an alternate sight picture. First thing, as you could probably imagine, lining the sights up in the way that I just showed you is less precise, right? But what it also is that it's a compensation for your height over bore. Now, as far as your iron sights are concerned, you have a height over bore issue regardless to where you zero the sights on this rifle. What we have here is about 1.5 inches of distance from the top of that front sight blade to the bore. Okay. Now, as far as, just individual liability and stuff, that 1.5 inch of me trying to hold dead center on a target and it not hitting where I intend to is really not that much, because if you look at the target over here, which is a clean target, and you see where I line up the sights centered to the box on the head here, you'll see that I'm going to impact a little bit low, right? Now, as far as, individual liability and stuff is concerned, especially in a house, it's not that much of a big deal, especially if you're holding on just the whole torso area, right? It's not that big of a deal. However, particularly with the AKs, it is significantly slower because you have mountains of stuff cluttering your front sight. What this really does is that it alleviates all of that clutter and allows you to shoot much faster. So, what we're going to do here is that we're going to go ahead and I'm going to fire around by just lining up the sights and holding them dead on in the center of that head over there. And I'll show you the difference between where the sights line up and where they impact, and where this camera is, it's at about 5 yards, right? And I'll go ahead and show you guys the difference as far as that's concerned, and then we'll go ahead and do the Caveman EOtech and see when exactly it starts to be less effective. All right, so let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so first round that I fire here is gonna be a dead-on hold. Now, as I said before, the impact is low of where we want it to be. Now, if I was holding right in here or in the ocular cavity and stuff, what I'm more than likely going to end up hitting is in this area up here. Okay. Realistically speaking, that's not that big of a deal as far as liability and stuff is concerned. Like I said, though, what I do have in the way is a mountain of clutter, because the second that the gun starts recoiling, the rear sight's going to get in the way of the front sight and all that stuff. So how do we clear that up? All we really do is just cant the gun slightly to where what we see in its place is that Caveman EOtech, right? So that's how we're going to handle that. Now, I'm going to do this little iron sight technique this close, and we're going to start shooting. I will fire a round from 5 yards. I'll go back to 7, 10, 15, and 20, and we'll see how that works out. Still on the head. Yeah, that's just that front sight blade held up a little bit higher, right? That impact was about here. It's kind of hard to see, but I'll bring you guys back. I'll bring you guys back up in a little while, right? Still a little low, not too bad though. All right. Back to 10 yards. Going back to 15. Going back to 20. All right, so let's take a look at this. Now, with that holdover at about 5 yards, it was a little bit higher than it was before. Now, admittedly, on that first holdover, it was a little bit shallow, but still, it was a little bit higher than where we wanted. 7 and 10, right where we wanted it to be. 15, it's starting to climb a little bit higher. And with the 20, I actually held here instead and got it real high in that center box area, pretty much in line with the shoulders. Okay, so as far as just a whole person is concerned, right? As far as you having a hallway or something like that to deal with, it would be real easy to say that a lot of the hallways are inside of 20 yards. So if you've got an AK, if you decided to use that as like your first time home defense rifle, you slung a light on it, and now you're waiting on that optic, it's yet another reason to know this kind of stuff, because you can actually get quite fast with it, because you're not getting any obscurity from the rear sight. You can just hold that over, and ironically enough, with full auto AKs, you essentially just kind of use that technique, because it's just a million times easier to see under full auto, and just hold low. Okay, start low left, and as it starts to climb, use the splash to kind of hold everything else in there, and then just kind of grit down in, and you can use that whole front sight tower to essentially bring in the splash to a reasonable place. But, you know, either way, out to 20 yards, if I'm holding just here, I got a good hit inside of this chest area, right? So, now, I mean, really that's all I got, but Chris, can you shoot that faster? Because those are just a shot at a time. Well, let's see if we can. Same hold, right? It's at 5 yards, and that's where everything landed. Yes, I was holding into the heart. Okay? So, I mean, that's at 5 yards. Well, let's also look at 20. Just to see if I can put my money where my mouth is here. I'm gonna set you guys up, and I'm gonna go ahead and walk back to 20 yards. Let's get in frame here at 20 yards. Now, 20 yards, we're pushing it. Because, like you guys saw before, that first hit that I got from it was pretty high. And some of you guys might not like that because it's up in the shoulders area and we're starting to climb out. Especially if we have like a flash sight picture and we're starting to shoot under speed. But, you guys can still see this might be questionable for some. Because, yeah, I started to shoot a little bit faster. And, yeah, I had a couple of them come out because it's 20 yards. So you might not want to use this technique for 20 yards. Or, if you do, hold lower so that you're more in here. I'm simply trying to hold for the dead center of this box. But you saw that it was starting to climb out of there, especially once I started to shoot faster. It's really not that difficult of a concept. You can weigh what is going to help you with what's going to hurt you. And essentially kind of go from there. Alright, now that you guys know some of the pros and a little bit of the cons of this individual technique, let me know what you guys think about it. Obviously, this is one of those things that you want to use at closer ranges, mostly because most of us use these as home defense implements, right? Well, even if you're in a station in life to where you're not using it as just a home defense implement, you can still use it to the utmost. Right? The more that you know about the stuff that you're using, the better. And that's really the purpose of this video. So, tell me what you guys think. Okay? Would you use it? Have you ever heard of it before? Have you heard of the Caveman EOtech but never really had it explained? Let me know in the comment section below. If you want to come out and be taught how to use your particular rifle or self-defense implement of any kind, go ahead and check out the training schedule that we have posted. We have a lot of stuff posted for April and September. A lot of this stuff includes a shotgun class that's out in Louisiana in September. We have a performance pistol class coming up in April. There's a slew of different things that are out there. As of right now, it is, in fact, mostly pistol, because that's just what people have been requesting from us the most. If you want to support us through Patreon, you can absolutely do that. I'm going to leave a link for both the website and the Patreon site in the description below. There is a way for you to train even cheaper than what we charge as far as tuition for a class, and that is if you sign up for $35 a month, you can train with us however long you want, for as long as you want, so long as you're signed up to that program, right? And in addition to that, if you want to go ahead and just support us, just throw a nickel our way here or there or whatever, that stuff goes towards supporting some of your vets, because what we do is that with the money that we take off of Patreon, we bring in soldiers and we pay for flight, ammo, gear, all that stuff, and you guys are training them for nothing. So not only are you helping us out as far as, just little things like ammunition and stuff like that here and there, you're also helping them out. So, even if it's like a nickel one time, it helps out far more than you know. If you want to join the discussion on Facebook, you can certainly go ahead and do that. The link is in the description below as well. There's a lot of guys in there that have a lot of good conversations, and a lot of times it actually gets quite hilarious too. It's its own little entity at this point. So, that being said, guys, remember, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.